Teresa, if you want to make the introduction for our guest speaker, Nicole.
Okay, so what are the top 2 value adds you're able to provide? I want to help others find their own success by asking questions and helping them find solutions. How do you look for opportunities to grow? Well, for business, Nicole looks for inspiring books and seminars, and outside of work, she's always looking for something new to learn and stay creative and passionate. What are her strengths? Ability to listen to what people need and want, and her keys to success: consistency and caring about people. So here's a fun question. Are there any interesting things that your name spells with the letters rearranged? That would be Lone, Cone, and Nile. Good job, Nicole.
I love that question. That was a fun little surprise at the end. And I love all the additional questions. So great job for those that have submitted. Well, good morning, Nicole with CW Title and Escrow. So I'm going to shake it up a little bit this time. As many of you know, we usually play a game of some sort, very interactive, but I thought I would maybe show a title policy because it is what we do. So just a little bit, our product, it was interesting. You look back and think about your job and you're like, what is it that we do? And we do produce a product. It's actually a title policy. And a title policy is what ensures the new owner of the property that they rightfully own it, and that their boundary lines, because title insurance is really an outside insurance. A lot of people confuse it with, oh, you're like Allstate. And it's like, no, we're very different. Your homeowner's insurance is the inside of your home, and title insurance is the outside and ownership. So basically, title is a history search of the property. So if our examiners in our office in Bellevue, they love research. They like to stare at microfiche, and they are just all in for wanting to pull really old documents or just produce and sit there, and they're like the headphones and the computer and all of that good stuff, but they're really doing that history search. So we're very compartmentalized in our company. So they are one part of the job. And then our title team sits in our headquarters in Bellevue, and they're basically there to answer questions. So we produce that title report, and then they sit and wait for our brokers to call, our lenders to call, our clients, whether you're a buyer or seller, to call. But and title can be very tricky because it goes all the way back to statehood here in Washington. Some properties have just passed through family members. Some properties haven't sold since statehood. So it can be super interesting, and not at all. When I got my job, I was like, I don't even know what this is. And I didn't find it interesting, to be honest. But then you get into it, and it is history. And I loved history in college. So it is super interesting once you get really dialed and detailed, which is not the level that Teresa and I go to. That is really our examiners, and that is our title officers. So we do 2 searches to produce a title report. We do a search of recorded matters, and we do a search of anything that's filed in the Superior Court. And I'll show you some examples as we kind of dive into just a quick overview of what a title report looks like. The other thing with title insurance and the title policy, it's different than, again, your auto insurance, because it lasts the life that you live in your home. So where car insurance, you're paying monthly, title insurance actually only gets paid one time, and the seller generally pays for it. So that's an industry practice. It's written in the contract. And so as a buyer, you're not even paying for your title insurance. It's a pay it forward mentality. So I pulled up an example, and Carrie would know this better, but the median home price around here is probably, on the east side, is probably around $1 million. And Carrie's shaking her head. Okay, so I'm not that far off, but I did do, I ran a title quote for just $800,000. So if you're selling an $800,000 home, your cost as a seller to give the new buyer their title policy is $1,885 plus tax. So if you think about it, an $800,000 house and $1,885 is really not that much, and you're paying it one time. So title insurance is not expensive, and it can save you a ton of money because the biggest cost, of course, is claims, just like any insurance company. So we are going to get into a title report. I'm going to share the screen, but I do want to just give you a quick overview because it's probably something Teresa and I always laugh. It's like, we're in this business. You get a copy of your title insurance when you buy a house, and it's preliminary. So it's not your final policy, but you're just like, what is, we know what it is. And we're not reading everything, but we tell buyers that they should read everything. So I'm going to give you just a quick overview of what in the heck it looks like. And when you've gotten this lovely thing and not looked at it, possibly, this is actually what it looks like. So just a few highlights on here. So here we go. So up here, one of the benefits of CW is that this is actually our dummy report, which is why we have all these fun things, little cheat sheet written on it. But we at CW, makes this different is that we actually have two underwriters. So this underwriter is Title Resources Guarantee, and then we have another underwriter, which is First American. So we basically, I call them mom and dad. So if mom says yes to insure a property, we go with that underwriter. If mom says no, we go to dad. So we hope that one of them says yes. And they have different without going into really great depth of what an underwriter does, but they're the huge backing. They have multi-millions, they're paying our claims, but they're really, depending on what claims have happened on their books, will depend on what they're willing to insure and what they're not willing to insure. So, but basically there's only two schedules in a title policy, and kind of our big value add at CW with Teresa and myself is we review all title reports for our brokers. And I know Carrie gets them. And it is really helpful because it feels Greek. We all in our industries have our own language. So when you get into a different part, it's like, huh? And Carrie, as good as she is at what she does, is we don't want her to be an expert at title insurance. We want her to be an expert at her real estate contract, and then lean on us to be the experts. So when she has questions, Tina has questions, it's like, call us and ask. So basically here's Schedule A, and there's only a few things you really focus on in Schedule A that you'll find. Our policy amounts, so that $800,000 example, this would be the sales, that's based on sales price. So sales price is $650,000. We have our proposed insured, so who the buyer is Thomas Jefferson. And then we have our totals, so our premium, tax, and total. So again, $650,000 home, $1,785. If they're getting a loan on the property, that would be here. So our proposed, this is the bank, First Independent Bank, and we do this on loan amount. So the lender is also getting a policy, and they're getting a policy because they want to know that they're in first lien position. If there's a foreclosure that happens, the lender has if there's anyone that's going to get paid, the lender wants to get paid first. And we get that. And then the second thing that's in Schedule A is who's vested. And this is the most important part. It's who the heck is in title. And this matters because the lender cares and the real estate agent cares because who's going to show up on the contract. So who the heck is the seller? We have George Washington and the heirs and devisees of Martha. We're all into our history here, I tell you. So we always check vesting is very important. And when we review these on behalf of our clients, we always point out vesting. And then the very last thing on Schedule A is the Exhibit A. And this is basically the legal description. So this example is lot block Cherry Tree Lane. So lot block, these are a lot of your east side flats. There's obviously flats Seattle. But this is not meets and bounds where you have this big acreage piece of property. So this is really those tracts, those neighborhoods that have a nice, pretty lot and block and very straightforward. Then we go into Schedule B, and sorry for the fast scroll, but this is just a bunch of disclosure stuff we as the company have to provide. So once we go down to special exceptions, there's always excise tax due upon the sale of a home. So we always point that out, and it's now on a graduated scale. So that excise tax gets paid out at closing. It's on their settlement statement, and it depends on their sales price. And it is expensive if you're I think it's over $1.5 million, it gets very pricey. We also point out property taxes. So we're going to tell them if they're paid current or if they're delinquent, and property taxes are collected twice. So we have first half is due by May 1st, and the second half is, well, they're delinquent on May 1st, and second half is delinquent on November 1st, which means we collect on April 30th and October 30th. This example we're showing is just, oh, they're very, very behind. And then CC&Rs, those covenants, conditions, restrictions. This is where these are all the rules. So we always highly advise buyers when you're buying a property and you're waiving that title contingency, which is very popular right now, to read the CC&Rs. So what can they do? Can they park their boat? Can they paint their house pink? What are the rules? And then easements are another thing. These run with the land. So if you see right down here, oops, it's recording number. So I mentioned we do 2 searches, recorded matters. So an easement is a recorded matter. So you can see there's a recording number. And this is just for Puget Sound Power and Light. Easements tend to be very common because they're your cable, your utilities, if you will. CC&Rs, agreements, this is one that Tina cares about. Road maintenance. If you've got a shared driveway, you got to have a road maintenance agreement, especially if you have a lender involved. So this road maintenance, the recording number, because this is a recorded matter. So as a buyer, you're going to want to click on, all of our hyperlinks are not showing up right now, but it's a recording number that they click on. They can read all about the agreement, see what they're responsible for, and payment. So I'm going to fly because I've got 1.5 minutes, but we also show things like a deed of trust. So this is their mortgage on the property. That's another recorded matter. So we just state the original amount, and then once escrow gets involved, we get the final payoff amount. So what is their balance? And then deeds of trust. So again, whether it's with a private individual or with a bank, we're showing those because they're recorded. Any judgments? Judgments are funny. They can be recorded and filed. In this instance, it's just a filed matter because we see a King County judgment number. So that's right here. And that's kind of just a brief overview, but we really, the Schedule B is really the nuts and bolts of, if we want somebody to focus on a part of the title report, it's Schedule B, especially as a buyer, because they need to pay attention to CC&Rs, they need to pay attention to their easement. So again, that's all the exterior things of how they can use the property and what will affect them as a homeowner going forward. So we ensure the buyer owns it free and clear. It's just their mortgages if they have one, and that they're the rightful owner. So that's our job. If there's any questions in 20 seconds, let me know. Thank you. Nicole Harding with CW Title and Escrow.
Nicole, thank you so much for the presentation on breaking down title insurance. Great job.